I was in the Army. I was with the 505 Parachute Company with the 82nd Airborne. I served in really France, Belgium, and Germany. I graduated from St. Xavier High School in June of 1943. And at that time, any employer knew that you were going to go in pretty quick. So it was hard. I did odd jobs with a couple different companies, one tool and die maker. And when I became 18 on October the 18th of 1943, and December 23rd, I was inducted and drafted into the Army. I was inducted in Fort Thomas, and I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky for my 8 weeks of basic training. From there, I was given a furlough for 10 days, 2 weeks. I knew that I wanted to be a paratrooper for one reason. I had one older brother. He's a year and a half older than I was, and he joined the paratroopers. And I couldn't leave him get one ahead of me. So after my furlough, they sent me to Camp Chaffee, Arkansas. And as soon as I got there, I signed the papers to join the paratroopers. To become a paratrooper, it takes 4 weeks of training. I took the 4 weeks of training at Fort Benning, Georgia. I did everything that I had to. It was rough. It was a hard 4 weeks of training. The first week is 8 to 10 hours a day, all physical exercise. Second week, you use the 25-foot towers for a half a day and half a day physical exercise. Third week is the 250-foot towers for half a day, and then the half a day. And then the fourth week, you pack your own parachute, learn how to do that, and you make a jump for 5 straight days. After your 5 days, you were considered a paratrooper. Before I went overseas, I can remember the first time I went up in an airplane, they had to jump out. I had never been in an airplane before. The first jump's the easiest because you don't know what's going on.
Can you tell me where you were sent after that 5-week period?
They put us on boxcars, and we went into New York and went over into Europe on a ship. We were what they call red hot, I guess, because the 82nd lost so many people and the men in the Battle of the Bulge. And they needed replacements real bad. We took 5 days for us to get over, and once we got over, we just zoom right up to the front line.
You were sent into combat right away. Where was that?
Really in France. When you get on the front line, you hear all the bombs and everything going off, and you met your officers, and you're more or less on your own. And he told you what you're up against.
What was the time period there before you were sent into combat?
That wasn't very long at all.
Oh,
This
so
is
they
fast.
needed you pretty
They needed
quickly.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that first battle?
Well, it was more or less small towns, and you went in and just cleaned them out as best you could. A lot of it was door to door. Some of it was out in the fields. And you just had to do what you had to do. You would hide wherever you could for your own protection, and then you would move, and you more or less depended on your buddies to help you too. One would guard you while you moved, and you just went from one place to the other. You got there, you wonder whether you could shoot at anybody. But by gosh, when they're shooting at you, you know it's either you or him.
Were you well supplied once you started in battle? Did you come with adequate supplies, do you think?
We had enough ammunition, food. You had your K rations, and you had your chocolate bars. And when you got into some of these homes, if you found some good food, why, you had it.
What did you miss the most?
Well, I guess I miss being home and with the family. Of course, you get some, you meet up with a couple buddies, but there's nothing like being home.
Did you make any really close friends?
I had one fella, Ralph Poe. He was from Cooksville, Tennessee. He and I were pretty good buddies. I was actually in combat 5 to 6 months, between 5 and 6 months. And when I was wounded, we had made the push across the Elbe River. And we used the amphibious tanks to get across the river, and then we went and made the beachhead. We were on our way to Hamburg, Germany. And after we made that, we were started back off of the front line, and the Germans threw in a couple of 88 shells. And that's when one of them, part of it got me. I was wounded, and off to the side of the road, they came and picked me up and put me on the hood of a Jeep and took me back to a field hospital. You had your dog tags on, and the shrapnel actually went through my dog tag. And I got hit about 7:30 in the morning. And they cut my clothes off and shirt and sweater. And they says, well, there's a couple little pieces of shrapnel there. We'll take that out and clean it up and he'll be okay. They put me on a cot in a big outside hospital, field hospital. And I was laying there a couple hours, and I told the nurse, I said, nurse, my back's killing me. She said, you're not used to a cot. And they were busy in those field hospitals. There's some boys pretty well banged up. A couple hours later, I called her again, and I says, I can't stand it. So she said, you're not used to it. Third time, a couple hours, I told her, I said, lift me up and see what's wrong. My dog tags had swung around, and I was laying on the dog tags.
Oh, okay.
And she says, oh my. So she called the doctor over, and he says, well, you know, that could have broke up the shrapnel. He said, we better take some more x-rays. Well, they took more x-rays and kept taking them lower, where they found there was still some more shrapnel in my liver. 9 months in hospitals. I wanted them to take it out, even after I get back into the States. But I couldn't find a doctor that would take that piece of shrapnel out. I was wounded a week before the war was over. After I was wounded, I didn't see any more combat at all.
Tell me what your Bronze Stars were given for.
Well, saving a buddy. He was more or less pinned down, and a couple of them were going for him, so I got the two that had him pinned down. If I didn't get him, why, he would have been gone.
Where was that? Where did that happen?
In Germany.
Did you experience any ill effects when you got home?
Come 4th of July, if I hear some loud bang that I don't know is coming, I jump. From being in service and hearing all the shells going off.
What did you do when the war ended?
Well, I went back to work. I started out, I guess I worked 10 years with an amusement company. After I left the amusement company, I went to work for a cigar manufacturer. And I spent 33 years with a cigar manufacturer. And I retired when I was 70 years old.
What do you feel was your biggest accomplishment during your time in the service?
Well, doing as much as I could to help as much as I could to win the war.